Hi, I'm Two Siders. Welcome to the 11th episode of Themed Park, the series where we create animal parks with a twist. Today we must make sacrifices to reach 5 stars. The heat of the generator is the only thing keeping us alive, but even then, only the feathered species are able to make it through the next snowstorm. This video archive is the only thing remaining of the park. If you want to honor the fallen, watch it from the very beginning until the very end. If you press the like button and if you comment something like "the park must survive," it also helps a lot. Press the subscribe button to get notified of future episodes and check out the themed park video playlist for other park builder content.
Brace yourselves, old is coming.
The heat of the generator is so immense, it instantly melts all the ice right around it, so we cannot build anything there, but that's where we will get our water and plant source from. We begin by constructing the guest section with the arrival point from underground trains, as well as some staff buildings. We need to make sure we supply enough power to all parts of the park. This is how I designed the main guest section. Luckily in the summer, the trees are safe from the cold snowstorm. We need to supply electricity to the other side of the park with all the staff centers. And we need a food source, so let's go for the first dinosaur. We construct 3 hatcheries around 3 parts of the circle. The 4th part will house a much more interesting machine that will go around the park in a circle, but I don't want to spoil it just yet. The first couple of dinosaurs don't need much space, so only half the area is required to house them. These hatcheries are designed so they can supply dinosaurs to different parts of the circle. So we don't need as many hatcheries as we need dinosaurs. The first dinosaur will need a bunch of sand and a little bit of forest because we put squirrel DNA into them. It's none other than the Sinosauropteryx. Look at their raccoon-like tails. We put some redwoods in their exhibit so they can climb up like real squirrels do. Unfortunately, their meat is quite chewy, so the residents of the park are already asking for a different dinosaur. Perhaps one with the taste of chicken. Not to mention these Sinos are eating meat, so it's not a good conversion rate. We expand the park, create more exhibits for the future dinosaurs, not just the next one. We need some more fossils and a new guest section. This is how it looks like. The second dinosaur requires I guess a similar type of environment to the first one, but I want to make it different. I use different types of trees. We need some fallen leaves or ground leaves. So I combine that with a more traditional alpine forest, some elevation, and just a single temperate rocky pond they can drink from. Our chicken-like food source is the Oviraptor. Their dark feathers draw in as much energy from the sun as possible so they don't freeze over the winter. However, they still possess quite colorful plumage at the end of their tail feathers and the back of their necks. It's quite funny because in my own tongue, Ovi means nursery, and these are egg thieves after all. Here are the first two exhibits, side by side. The third dinosaur on our list is the final small creature. They live in a deserted environment, so we must place them closer to the generator, which means making them space inside the gas section. We create a sort of spinal rock column, and we put in ancient desert materials from a lost civilization. Rusted water towers, crumbling ruins. We don't even need the electric fence to keep these dinosaurs inside, they are so small. We use rock walls, and at the edges these crumbling towers. Make sure not to put your hand inside this exhibit though. All these dinosaurs require is some meat, no plants at all. So this makes it look like this exhibit is almost like from a different planet, one before the huge snowstorms. It's quite contrasting to see that mountain in the background and of course the generator. It's almost like the surface of Mars. You'll be able to see these little bastards from the gallery that is shaped as a dome. Of course, we are talking about the Moros Intrepidus, the smallest cousin of the T-Rex.
This diminutive species was named after the primordial Greek deity of doom, Moros. Preceding the T-Rex, Moros Intrepidus may have been one of the tiniest Cretaceous tyrannosaurs, but it proved to be a harbinger of things to come.
It's quite difficult living half of your life in the shadow of the generator. That's why this dinosaur's feathers are also tar black. With their naked tails, they look like little rats scurrying around. And their meat tastes very similar to that. This will not be the only creature from the state of Utah. Don't you worry.
Moros is a cursorial carnivore from the state of Utah. The lightweight build allows Moros Intrepidus to reach great speeds, making this slender theropod a formidable predator.
They're almost too small to see with the naked eye. Look how tiny and incomprehensible they are next to the generator. This is how the park looks like right now. Only 30% of it has been covered. So we must make more dinosaurs. The next dinosaur is the only one from the icy depths of Antarctica. And ironically enough, it's the only dinosaur in the park that will not sport any feathers. We create a sort of half forested environment for them, with paths laid out with dirt. Couple of ponds they can drink from, and plenty of game to hunt. Let's create a little bit of an elevation for the forests. This dinosaur will require much more security than the small ones before. And we also run out of power, which means we need to increase the output. Let's open the other gate and release them. The skin color of these Cryolophosaurus is quite reminiscent of fish. Icy, almost turquoise colors. I have watched this species for quite a long time, and what's fascinating about them is they always stay together in this quite slender, long exhibit. Of course, at the very beginning there were some fights for the alpha position, but they almost always resolve themselves without a single scratch. Even though we'll have some more intelligent, larger, more dangerous dinosaurs in the park, this is the species that is the most aggressive. They are the wolves of our park. The next dinosaur will be, like I said, even more dangerous than the Cryolophosaurus. We need to up our fence game quite a bit. This will be the most forested part of our park. Dense redwood forests. Cannot even see 5 meters in front of you. But we'll still create some paths between the viewing galleries, the giant lake, and the feeding areas. These forests are so thick, we use a different type of soil. No light can get through these forests. Almost Germanic. What kind of creature will live here, I wonder? It's the most beautiful creature of the park, the Utahraptor, with their purple royal feathers. They also have some golden ant feathers on their arms and their tails. We almost make the massive mistake of leaving the Moros Intrepidus gate open. That would have been bad. Not only would they have killed all of them, but the smallest fences we have in the park would oppose them no longer. Interestingly enough, these massive Utahraptors only need a fence security rating of 4. However, that cannot be said for the next creature, also a type of raptor. I think the Utahraptors feel quite at home in this dense Germanic forest. The first thing they do is, of course, test the fences, but luckily our engineers did a good job at covering every square meter of fence with a higher grade security. And they have plenty of game to hunt. Luckily, you cannot see all that gore that is going on because of the dense vegetation. And of course, as always, a fight for the alpha position, with Mr. Roadrunner running at the back. Brrr, beep beep. Even more dangerous than the Utahraptors. They require some forests. However, this time around I want to create a long spine with a river. So we cut out the middle of the forest, throw down some rocks, create some elevation. This time we're gonna use temperate rocks to make it a little bit different. Almost like an ancient shrine. Like the Stonehenge of raptors. And this is how it looks like. Though smaller than the Utahraptors, these Pyroraptors are one of the most aggressive creatures in our park. And of course we forget to upgrade the fences, leaving it at a security rating of 2. They're also more dangerous because there are 6 of them, unlike the normal or regular 4 we go for in dinosaur numbers. The generator looming over our existence. I didn't tell you, but the further we go from the generator, the colder the climate gets. This is why in this layer there's some snow. In the inner layers there's no snow. And for the next dinosaur there's gonna be almost fully snow. Pyroraptors do this weird dance, like modern birds, to socialize. Their purple feathers are quite regal, similar to the Utahraptor, but I would say these creatures are more monstrous. Of course, we make the mistake of upgrading fences right when a Pyroraptor is right next to one. And even with the instant construction rate, we need to go and capture them. They already killed someone, so... Like I said, at this point, it's pretty much just snow that covers the ground. We need heaters just to keep the water from freezing, so our species can drink. These species will have quite a lot of room to move around. We create quite a dense forest once again, and a more deserted, shrubby forest and dead forest at the outer layers to simulate the cold. We throw down a bunch of rocky hedges with cameras because the next species will also be quite dangerous. We extend the river from the Pyroraptor exhibit, and like I said, use heaters so the water doesn't freeze. At the edges of the civilization, we place down some towers. We remove the fences for much better fence, a layer of rocks, and try to place them fast enough so the goats don't escape from the exhibit. These rocks will create a sort of buffer zone so the cold doesn't get in. Look at that, the Cryolophosaurus is destroyed the jeep. Nothing is ever enough for them. Even though they get some surface wounds from destroying the jeep, it doesn't matter to them. So we create this buffer zone with the rocks to keep our dinosaurs from freezing from the cold winter winds. What could they be? The white tigers of winter. The Yutirannus. Every single time we feed them and check their status, we need helicopter support. Otherwise the jeep has no chance of surviving. Even then. How can we view these dinosaurs though at the outer layers with no viewing gallery? Well, you have the answer just in front of you. The train. The train tracks cover the entire circle, and this is how you'll be able to view the final 4 species. Don't worry, we'll have some more footage later of the train. Of course, one of the first things these white tigers do is trying to test the fences and go to the very edges of their exhibits towards where the train begins. I like the contrast of the train in the background with the white colorings of the Yutirannus. Because they're quite bothered by the train, they want to go to the source where the train station is. It's the edge of the map, so we couldn't cover the whole thing with fences, but luckily the Yutirannus know they would not survive without our help. So they turned back. But of course not without bad-mouthing the train itself. It's an inanimate object, buddy. It's a bad time to be a goat. We need a bunch of forest, ground leaf, and also some meat. I create these little buffer zones of swamp. We place down these pillars of fire to keep the water from freezing. And we grow some vegetation around them. The air gets so cold at this stage, so far from the generator, that outside these lowland buffer zones, it's pretty much just snow. Though in the inner circle there is some vegetation of forest. Because the winds in the park come from down south, we also create a buffer zone of rocks here. And this is how it looks like. This next species is quite the contrast from the Oviraptors. Very similar though. It's the Gigantoraptor with similar black feathers to keep them warm. Of course, we cannot avoid the fight for the alpha position. This is the dinosaur with the most powerful kick in the park. To give you a little contrast, we are going to tranquilize one of the Oviraptors and move them to the Gigantoraptor exhibit. Look at that. Uh-oh. Don't worry, we safely deliver the Oviraptor back to its original exhibit. The 9th dinosaur requires the most amount of water out of all of these species. 50% of its exhibit will be water. So we create a massive stream, a river, in the middle of the exhibit, quite low so it doesn't freeze. We create this sort of snake-like pattern. Still need heaters though so it doesn't freeze. The edges of the river is pure rock, and we place down some temperate rocks. Similarly to the Pyroraptor exhibit. We add a little bit of trees at the edges of the exhibit. And we will release the Deinocheirus. But to be honest with you, I don't really like this color. What was I saying? Oh yes, we released the Deinocheirus for the very first time. With their river patterns. Also the only dinosaur in the park that eats fish. They are quite weird looking, but I assure you they are very dangerous. Almost look like monster camels. They like to gather around the salmon stream and catch fish at the same time. But of course fights do break out, even with these goofy looking creatures. Their aggressive stance is just their tiny arms being put out, like they are about to hug you. The final species is upon us. We need to create quite the tropical vegetation for them, so we must place heaters around the entire exhibit. Very similar to the buffer zones of the Gigantoraptors. Around the heaters, plants start growing. And the dirt also melts, or the snow also melts into this quite thick vegetation. We throw down a little bit of increased height forests. And a little bit of water, of course. But The real eye-catching thing is when you view the exhibit at night. The final feathered species is the Therizinosaurus. Now these dinosaurs have a orange blood red sun-like feather pattern. And so it doesn't feel alone, we release a second one. They quickly become pals. Watch out for the concrete block. Ow! The entire park is finished. It looks so beautiful when we transition from day to night. And as promised, the train. Now let's view all the 10 species of the park one by one. First one, Sinosauropteryx. The second one, the Oviraptor. The third one, the Moros Intrepidus. Fourth, Cryolophosaurus. Watch out for your head. The fifth one, the Utahraptor. Sixth, Pyroraptor. You really just fell asleep with the food in your lap. Anyways, seventh, Yutirannus. Eighth, Gigantoraptor. Ninth, Deinocheirus. And the final dinosaur, Therizinosaurus. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support me, press the like button, press the subscribe button for future episodes of Themed Park, and if you comment something below like, "The park must survive," it will help YouTube push this video to more people. This has been Two Siders. See you in the next one.